This morning, a state governor looked into a camera and called the Secretary of Homeland Security the most incompetent and cruel cabinet member in American history. Think about that for a second. The most incompetent and cruel ever. Those aren't words you throw around lightly when you're a sitting governor. Those are fighting words, career-ending words, words that make headlines. But Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota didn't care. Because 4 days ago, something happened in Minneapolis that's got half the country demanding answers and the other half pretending it didn't happen. Saturday night, a 37-year-old ICU nurse named Alex Pretti was shot and killed by federal Border Patrol agents on an American street. Not at the border, not during a crime, on a street in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And within hours, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, stood in front of cameras and told America that Alex Pretti was a domestic terrorist who attacked federal officers with a semi-automatic handgun, had dozens of rounds of ammunition, and tried to massacre law enforcement. Here's what we know now. Every single word of that was a lie. Alex Pretti wasn't armed, he wasn't violent, he wasn't attacking anyone. Video evidence, witness statements, everything proves it. He was an ICU nurse who showed up near where masked federal agents were conducting immigration raids, and they shot him. But it gets worse, way worse. Instead of apologizing when the truth came out, federal officials doubled down. They called him a terrorist. They slandered his family on national television. And then they opened a federal investigation into his wife, Renee, who's also a healthcare worker. Let that sink in. They killed an innocent man, lied about it, got caught lying, and then went after his widow. This morning, Governor Walz sat down for his first television interview since Alex was killed. And he didn't hold back. He said Minnesota is under siege by what he called an army of masked men acting with impunity. He said hundreds of federal agents showed up in his state without any coordination, without calling him, without telling local law enforcement. They just showed up in full tactical gear, faces covered, and started conducting raids. The previous border official in charge, Gregory Bovino, never called the governor. Secretary Noem never called. They treated Minnesota like enemy territory. And here's the thing that's got people terrified. If they can do this in Minnesota, they can do it anywhere. Governor Walz demanded 3 things this morning. Get these masked agents out of Minnesota. Bring the officers who killed Alex to justice and fire Kristi Noem immediately. He's not alone. 2 Republican senators just broke ranks. Lisa Murkowski said it's probably time for Kristi Noem to go. Tom Tillis was even more blunt. When asked if he had confidence in Secretary Noem, he said, "None at all. Not at all." A Republican senator saying he has 0 confidence in a Republican cabinet member. That's how bad this is. President Trump's response? He sent his border czar, Tom Homan, to Minneapolis this morning to de-escalate a little bit. De-escalate a little bit. That's what he said. A man is dead, his family's been destroyed, and we're going to de-escalate a little bit. The question everyone's asking now is simple. Who's next? Let me walk you through exactly what happened Saturday night, because the official story and the real story are 2 completely different things. Around 10 p.m., federal Border Patrol agents showed up in a Minneapolis neighborhood to conduct what they called immigration enforcement operations. We're talking about agents in full tactical gear, faces covered with masks, heavily armed. They weren't there to check papers. They were there like they were raiding a cartel compound. Alex Pretti, an ICU nurse who'd spent the last few years saving lives during a pandemic, was in the area. Witnesses say he wasn't doing anything aggressive. He wasn't interfering. He was just there. What happened next is where the stories split. The official Department of Homeland Security statement said Alex approached officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun and reacted violently when they tried to disarm him. They said an agent fired defensive shots because he feared for his life. They painted Alex as a threat, a dangerous individual who showed up looking to inflict maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. Those were the exact words Gregory Bovino used. Massacre law enforcement. Then the evidence started coming out. Alex wasn't armed. No gun was found. The dozens of rounds of ammunition they claimed he had didn't exist. The violent reaction? Security footage and witnesses tell a completely different story. Multiple witnesses say it took 7 agents to throw Alex to the ground before they shot him, 7 armed tactical officers, against 1 unarmed ICU nurse. And here's what makes this even more disturbing. Stephen Miller, the deputy chief of staff who's basically running immigration policy, came out and defended the official story. He said the statement from DHS was based on reports from agents on the ground. But when pressed about why every single detail was wrong, his office released what can only be called a non-apology. They said they're evaluating why the CBP team may not have been following protocol. Notice what's missing there? I'm sorry. We were wrong. We lied. Nothing. Just bureaucratic language that basically admits they put out false information but won't take responsibility for it. Governor Walz put it perfectly this morning. He said, if either of these public officials had an ounce of decency, they would call up Alex Pretti's parents and apologize. But they won't, because this isn't about decency. This isn't about justice. This is about power. The investigation into Alex's death, it's going to be run entirely by the Department of Homeland Security. The same department whose secretary called him a terrorist, the same department whose agents killed him, the same department that lied about what happened. No FBI, no Justice Department, no independent investigators. And here's the kicker. No state investigators either. Governor Walz said his people showed up to the scene and were told they couldn't access it. Federal agents literally blocked state investigators from doing their job. This is what Governor Walz meant when he said Minnesota is under siege. Think about what that means. A state government elected by the people can't investigate a shooting in their own state because federal agents won't let them. Meanwhile, those federal agents, they're still out there, still masked, still conducting raids, still acting like they're above the law, because apparently they are. And while all this is happening, Alex Pretti's family is grieving. His wife Renee is dealing with the loss of her husband while federal investigators are looking into her. His parents are watching their son get called a terrorist on national television. No apology, no accountability, no justice. Just de-escalate a little bit. Here's what's happening in Minneapolis right now, and pay attention because this is what standing up looks like. The Minnesota National Guard has taken over security around the federal building where these agents are stationed, and the difference is night and day. When federal agents were in charge, you had masked men taunting protesters, smoke grenades going off, people getting arrested for standing on public sidewalks. It was chaos. Deliberate chaos designed to intimidate. Now, the National Guard is there. And here's what they're doing. They're handing out donuts, hot chocolate, and coffee to the demonstrators. No masks. Uniforms with their names clearly visible. Treating protesters like human beings instead of enemy combatants. Governor Walz said something today that really stuck with me. He said, "These are your neighbors. We have a group of folks here, mercenaries, who are told we're the enemy. They're kitted up like they're in Afghanistan to do these things." Mercenaries. That's what a sitting governor called federal agents operating in his state. And get this, the protesters outside that federal building, the ones who've been out there demanding justice for Alex, they asked the governor today if they could bring homemade food to the National Guard members who are away from their families. Read that again. The protesters are asking if they can feed the soldiers who are keeping the peace. That is the difference between law enforcement that serves the community and what we have seen over the past week. That's the difference between soldiers who see citizens and agents who see threats. But here's what should scare all of us. This isn't over. Those masked federal agents are still there. Secretary Kristi Noem still has her job. The investigation is still being run by the people who killed Alex and lied about it. And across the country, these same tactics are being used in other cities. Governor Walz ended his interview this morning with a message to the rest of America. He said, "Stand with us on this. This is a stand we have to hold." And he's right. Because if we don't draw a line here, where do we draw it? If a 37-year-old ICU nurse can be shot dead by federal agents, if his family can be slandered by the highest officials in government, if his killers can investigate themselves while his widow is investigated by them, if state governments can be shut out of their own jurisdictions, then what exactly are the limits anymore? What can't they do? Alex Pretti spent his career saving lives. He worked through a pandemic when most people were hiding at home. He showed up every day to an ICU and fought to keep people alive. And he was shot by agents of his own government on an American street, in a country that's supposed to value life, liberty, and justice. His family deserves an apology. They deserve the truth. They deserve justice. And as of this morning, they have none of those things. The story is still developing. Tom Homan is still in Minneapolis. The investigation is ongoing. And Americans across the country are watching to see if this administration will do the right thing, or if de-escalate a little bit is all we're going to get. We'll keep you updated as more information comes out. Because this story isn't going away. Not until there's accountability. Not until there's justice. Not until we remember that Alex Pretti was a human being who deserved better than this. His name was Alex Pretti. He was 37 years old. He was an ICU nurse, and he should still be alive.